Welcome back to YourRagingGamer. Now, today's Friday and today's Film Friday to be exact, and on Wednesday I actually went out to go see a movie that came out, well, on Wednesday, and it is called The Lone Ranger, as you can probably see by this title, and I have a very, very, very good review for this movie. Now, as unfortunate as this, IGN is like the network that I watch most of the time for all sorts of game and movie reviews, and I feel they couldn't have possibly been more wrong about the movie. When reviewing. When they're reviewing, they gave it a 6 out of 10, and I could disagree with every point they made. This movie, for me, was better than Man of Steel and White House Down combined. It was so much more entertaining. The reason that I think it was maybe this way is because I was really in a mindset for a 6 out of 10 movie, because that's what IGN gave it, and I go out and I leave the movie, and I'm shocked at how good it was, and how everything that I heard from IGN was absolutely wrong. I was looking for those parts that were kind of not making sense and things, and it just nothing didn't make sense. The entire movie flowed perfectly. Now, the one problem that it has, that it might not be the most appealing to some audiences, is the fact that it's 2.5 hours long. But that's basically its only negative side. If you're totally up for sitting there for 2.5 hours and watching a fantastic movie, go ahead and do it. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, the two main characters, I would say the main character of this movie is played by Armie Hammer, and like the secondary character, even though he's there for most part of the story, is Johnny Depp. I've got a feeling the main character is somehow, in a really weird way, in the very introduction of the movie, not as well developed as I thought it would be. That's why it's not 100% perfect. Now, on the other hand, the Johnny Depp's character is absolutely, it does not need any more explanation. His entire story, from his childhood to his late old age, is completely explained thoroughly in this movie. I'm not going to spoil how, because, well, I choose not to spoil the movie for you. So, but that's the only problem. One character that's the main character, played by Armie Hammer, isn't necessarily developed as well as I didn't know enough to really follow with what the character really was. It kind of unfolded over the course of the movie, and I'd rather know who this guy is from the very beginning. I don't know if that's just me, but it was kind of weird for me. That's one very minor minus. Now, another thing that IGN pointed out that I sort of agree on a very small scale is that there's a few characters that don't need to be in the movie. I guess that what the director did is, instead of he wanted to use more popular actors to kind of, well, make the movie better, and there's a few characters that are kind of not needed but useful in very small parts of the movie. And there's especially one character that literally is there for about 10 minutes max in the movie, but the role of that character is kind of vital to these people. The movie may have been scripted differently, so that role may not have even made sense, but that's just an extra character that was there. It may have made too many people just think about it, and maybe that's the problem that IGN had with it, but in my opinion, it was perfectly fine, and I think it made sense for me, the existence of this character. And maybe there's 2 or 3 more in there that may have been possibly avoided, but the movie itself is it's very well thought of. Instead of just being a story, in fact, what it actually is, I'm gonna just give away this part, because if you watch the movie, you'll see this in the first 5 seconds. The movie itself is a flashback. It's a flashback already from the Lone Ranger. No, not from the Lone Ranger. The Indian that is played by Johnny Depp. It's his flashback, basically, like 50 years before what happened, and that it's basically him telling that story to a small child at some sort of fair, and that was basically the movie. And it was just absolutely fantastic. I think that's a brilliant idea, because then there's parts where all the action is happening, and all of a sudden it just gets this resolution for a minute where it just takes a break. It gives you time to take a little breather, and then it continues. Now, the movie itself, it's meant to be, I think, more of a comedy, than its action and comedy, I think, are perfectly balanced. There's a perfect balance, just like in Pirates of the Caribbean, the way it was achieved, where there was action, there was fighting, and there was all this kind of explosions and stuff, but this was also matched by a great sense of humor in the characters, and a great sense of humor in Johnny Depp. They make this guy funny no matter what role he plays. It's absolutely beautiful, and like the mix was perfect. There was the times where it was all serious, and then there was that one little line they throw in there that instead of making you all focused on the action makes you just bawl your eyes out, and it's absolutely hilarious. The movie was a perfect balance between the two genres I was trying to achieve, which is like old western action and humor and comedy. It was so brilliantly made, and there was a few little nuggets over which the humor was built, and I'm not going to give away what those are, but every single time they do it, it may feel a little repetitive, but for me, it was absolutely perfect. The way it was done, and the jokes really didn't repeat themselves that much. It's basically the basis for the jokes and why they're being said. But anyways, the character is absolutely beautiful, and the Army Hammer character is more or less serious. He's on the serious, actiony side. He's like, yeah, I gotta save the day. And then Johnny Depp is like this quirky Indian who just goes around and doing really weird things. But it's like the best combination of two completely different people that a movie has so far given me. And I think if it wasn't for those few incidents where I didn't fully agree with the movie, this may have been one of the most perfect things I've ever seen. It was amazing. I was so entertained with those 2.5 hours that there was parts where everything that I would expect out of a good action movie happened, where the good guys are in control, where the bad guys are in full control. It looks like the good guys have no chance, and all of a sudden they pull it out of nowhere and they just destroy the bad guys. And it was an absolutely brilliant movie, and I definitely suggest to everyone, go see this movie. There's a few really strange things where the bad guy eats his nemesis's hearts, but I guess that might not be the greatest. There's no actual gore, though. It's just a little concept with the character and how mental he is. That was another little complaint that I heard, but it was, I guess, just to show that people that are not normal are not normal. And I guess that was the one part. And I guess the anti-hero, the bad guy of the movie, is also really well developed. It kind of gives, over the time of the movie, it gives more of his name, because the movie did this thing where everyone already knows of this bad guy before the movie starts, and then as the movie goes on, the actual viewer finds out more, and then by the end of the movie, he knows just as much as the people in the movie do. And that's kind of a really good way, I guess, of developing who he is. And I think it was a fantastic movie and a brilliant mix of just classic action and then comedy. And I think as I was watching it, it really did still have that feel of Pirates of the Caribbean, where it was all serious and down to business, but it couldn't have survived without those parts where it just gave you kind of a resolution, a little break, a little pause just to laugh. And I think that's what made the movie so absolutely brilliant. And so I suggest anybody go see this. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10 because it was a very, very good movie and definitely worth the money to go see. And I'm telling you for sure right now, I was more entertained watching this than I was Man of Steel and White House Down combined. I want to go back and see that movie for a second time just because it was so good. And a little hint, stay for the credits. In my theater, the lights didn't actually turn on, and everybody left. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? When the lights don't go on, you stay. And I stayed, and there was a part in there that was like, oh. And then the movie ended, and it's like, that was perfect, that was brilliant. So don't stand up when the movie thinks, like, when the credits start, don't stand up. Don't stand up, stay sitting there, watch the few credits where it gives off, like, the main characters' names and stuff like that. Stay there and watch that part if you're going to see this movie, which I really suggest you do. So hopefully you enjoyed my little review here in the gameplay in the background. If you missed it, this was me basically in the first round of a CTF sucking completely, but I did get off 2 insane plays, I think, that saved us, where instead of going down like 3-0, we ended up tying it 1-1. And then in the second round, that's when I went ham and I just destroyed the enemy team. And so that's what gave the team the victory. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed watching this, and see you guys later. Goodbye.